Spiritually abusive environments weaponize discernment and intuition to further abuse people in that environment. And the reason it's really important for you to know that is when you've left a spiritually abusive environment, you oftentimes have difficulty trusting your gut, trusting your intuition and your discernment. And a lot of you have talked about this in the comment section of my videos asking, how can I trust my gut again? How do I know just how to discern what's around me accurately? And there are many reasons for that. There's gaslighting that spiritually abusive and psychologically abusive people use quite often. But today I'm going to delve into a different reason. So, like I said at the beginning of the video, in spiritually abusive environments, discernment and intuition are weaponized as a way to abuse the people in that environment. There's nothing wrong with discernment and intuition. Those are life-saving things that I believe we each are born with, and we have to learn to develop them over time. Unfortunately, because the concepts of discernment, intuition, similar things like that are very subjective, it makes it difficult to, prove those things and to challenge those things. And something to know about spiritually abusive or just abusive people in general is that they tend to take advantage of concepts and phenomena that are difficult to prove and quantify, right? And this is part of why spiritual abuse is so common. If you think about going to any kind of religious setting and being told that, well, you don't have enough faith, how do you disprove that? You can't measure faith. If someone told you, well, you are, let's say, 6 feet tall and you're not 6 feet tall, you could easily get a ruler or whatever, a measuring tape, and disprove that. But part of the allure for abusive people, part of why they like these kind of environments so much is that they can take these abstract concepts and weaponize them. So let me get on to the point of what I'm talking about. When you think about discernment, intuition, anybody can say that they discern something or they sense something. And that doesn't always mean that it's true. And when people are victims of spiritual abuse, the process of grooming and abusing people can include false discernment and false intuition. So, for instance, somebody could say to a potential victim that they sense that they are going through financial difficulties, when in fact, maybe they got that information from someone else. And so in this case, they know for a fact that somebody is struggling financially, but they're saying, oh, well, I sense that or I discern that or whatever. And when somebody does this, they look in that situation like they are the expert. They look like they have some sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Basically, like they have these skills, this extra knowledge that causes that potential victim to put their trust in that person. And this is something that a lot of con artists will do, people that you know, just engage in these types of ways of taking advantage of people. They will often use logic and facts and other sorts of things in the environment to make it look like they came to some kind of conclusion through special knowledge. And this happens very frequently in spiritually abusive environments, in my opinion. So somebody could say something like, oh, I sense this, or, my intuition is telling me this, or I see this about you, when in fact, they don't have any sort of gifting or ability in that area. And when that person now looks like the expert and the potential abuse victim believes them, then they're going to probably give them access into their lives, access to information, things like that, that they are not, it's not safe to give them, right? And so basically they're trying to build the abuser is trying to make themselves look like they have this knowledge and this skill to gain trust and to gain access to the abuse victim. So it's really important that you understand that just because somebody says they know something about you, or they say that they sense something about you, doesn't necessarily mean that they actually do or that they have your best interest at heart. The second way that discernment slash intuition slash sensing can be weaponized in these types of environments is that the person could actually sense something, right? But when they are using this gift or ability, they're using it in order to dominate you, to control you, to gain access into your life that you would not ordinarily have given them access to. So somebody could say something along the lines of like, wow, I sense that you are dealing with a lot of heaviness today. And they could be right. Maybe they are good at sensing things about people. Or maybe, you just gave off a sad vibe that day. Who knows? With abusive people, they get that information to either use it against you later or to try and size you up to figure out where your weaknesses are. And this is what spiritually abusive people do. And so just because somebody is right in their discernment or sensing of something doesn't mean that they are in your corner. And you guys have told me some really unfortunate stories about how this has been used against you. So someone could say they sent something, you open up, and then later on, what you share in a moment of vulnerability or just having a rough time, whatever the case may be, that is used against you. It could be used against you to publicly humiliate you, shame you, embarrass you, whatnot. So it's really important that you're aware of this so that when you are in these types of environments or relationships, that you're not just dazzled by somebody claiming that they know or sense something about you. So that's one way that it can be, discernment can be used against you. Another way that it can be used is to sort of, there's a word I'm looking for and I can't remember it right now, but the closest thing I can say is entrapment, right? So to try and like trap you into either admitting something so that they can bring down the hammer on you at that moment, right? And some of you guys have told me that in the comment section, or maybe when we've had live discussions, you'll discuss incidents like that. So let me give you an example. Maybe someone says that they sense that you are unhappy about some things, maybe for whatever reason. Let me think of an example. All right, so I have an example. So let's say somebody shares and that they had a really rough holiday season, right? And they could say, they could be sharing whatever. And then the other person who's listening and say, oh, I really sense that you have a lot of heaviness about the holidays, right? And then you, as the recipient of this information, could say something along the lines of, yeah, I am really sad about the holidays, and explain what sorts of things happen. And that person, instead of, either trying to make you feel better or just trying to connect on that level, will use that as a way to lecture you. They might say something like, well, you shouldn't be so materialistic. In our religion, it tells us that we should be content with what we have and blah, blah, blah. So it's sort of like getting you to admit something so that you can get a lecture as a result, building this false sense of camaraderie only to come down on you later. It's important that you understand that the way this happens is very subtle. And that's, again, why a lot of people have difficulty identifying spiritual abuse when it is happening or when it has happened. People who abuse their spiritual power and authority never announce that that's what they're going to do, or that's what they do, right? They don't come out and announce their intentions. And so it's important to give yourself compassion and also understand that this is a very difficult thing to see right away unless you've been through that. And so again, I'm going to go over the main point of this video, which is if you don't learn anything else, don't be dazzled or impressed by somebody who seems to have a good sense of discernment or intuition about them. It's not necessarily the fact that they can discern or intuit things well, it's how they use that information. And they're people that can appear quite sensitive, quite caring, but they are pretending to be that way to gain access to you to eventually control and abuse you. So it's really important that you remember that. I'm going to go over the 3 ways that happens. The first thing is really false intuition. They didn't discern or intuit anything about you. It was just something that information maybe they stumbled upon, but they're trying to make it look like they have this gift or ability so that you can trust them and they can gain access to you. The second way in which this can occur is when somebody may be sensitive and may be discerning, but they do not use that information to benefit you. They use that information, they use that to gain information from you, information that you would not have otherwise felt comfortable sharing or disclosing to them, and they will use that information against you later. And then the third way that people can abuse this sense of discernment or intuition is by building, a false sense of camaraderie only to lecture you later. And, it could happen various ways. It could be a lecture. It could be, a harsh, stern, uncalled for rebuke. And again, you have to have nuance and understanding these things. I'm not saying that in spiritual environments, there aren't times where people are going to disagree or somebody might, have something to say to somebody that they don't like, but it's how it's done. Healthy environments they communicate with people directly. They don't use underhanded means to get what they want, and they don't pretend to be what they're not to gain access to people. And so, really, what you want to gain from this is understanding that people can use discernment, intuition, sensing to pretend that they are not who they are in order to bring chaos and abuse into your life. So I hope that information is helpful to you. I'd also love to hear from you in the comment section if you've experienced this before. And if so, how did you handle it? What are some tips that you might have for others? If you'd like to book a free consultation, go to my website, skillsetcounseling.com, click on the orange button, and that way you can book a free consultation. All right. I hope you have a wonderful day that's filled with peace. Bye-bye.